My sister Natalie was addressing wedding invitations when I arrived for Sunday dinner. She looked up from the calligraphy, her expression flickering with something like guilt before settling into determination. "About your invitation," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "We're doing singles without plus ones. Budget constraints." I glanced at the invitation she'd just finished addressing. "Mr. and Mrs. David Chin and guest. David gets a plus one? David's engaged. That's different. What about? You're getting a single invitation, Maya. It's already decided." She returned to her calligraphy with pointed finality. My mother appeared from the kitchen, clearly having orchestrated this conversation's timing. "It makes sense, sweetheart. Plus ones are expensive and you're not seeing anyone seriously." "I'm not seeing anyone at all," I corrected. "By choice." "Exactly," Natalie said, an edge creeping into her voice. "So who would you even bring?" My father laughed from his armchair, not looking up from his newspaper. "Maya's married to her work. Whatever that work actually is." The real issue wasn't the plus one. It was that my family had decided I was unsuccessful, unmarried, and embarrassing. The family failure who didn't deserve the same consideration as other guests. Natalie was marrying Jordan Pierce, a senior marketing director at Chin Tech Solutions. She'd been planning this wedding for 18 months, treating it like a corporate merger. Every detail calculated to impress Jordan's colleagues and advance her own career at the same company. I didn't fit her narrative of success. Who would she bring anyway? Natalie said to our mother, her voice carrying that particular laugh that made clear she was performing cruelty for an audience. She picked up my invitation, already addressed, already sealed, and made a show of checking it. "See? No one guessed. It's cleaner this way." I watched her place my single invitation in the stack, separated from the couples and families who mattered. What my family didn't know, what I'd never told them, was that I'd spent the past 3 years serving on corporate boards. At 32, I was one of the youngest board directors in the tech industry, specifically recruited for my expertise in AI ethics and technology governance. My work, that they dismissed, included advisory positions at 4 Fortune 500 companies, including Chin Tech Solutions, where Natalie and Jordan both worked. I'd joined Chin Tech's board 8 months ago, brought in during their major restructuring to help navigate regulatory challenges and ethical frameworks for their AI development. The position was confidential until the public announcement next month, part of their strategy to reveal the new board composition alongside their product launch. But I'd said nothing to my family. Not after Thanksgiving, when Natalie had introduced me to Jordan's parents as my sister who does consulting or something. Not after Christmas, when my father asked if I was still freelancing. Not after my mother suggested I might find direction if I got married like Natalie. "It's fine," I said quietly, watching Natalie stack the invitations. "I understand. I knew you'd be reasonable," my mother said, relieved. "This is Natalie's special day. We can't have any awkwardness." Awkwardness. I was awkwardness personified. Single, vaguely employed, taking up space at my successful sister's wedding. Build up. The wedding was held at the Grandview Hotel, an upscale venue where Jordan's company regularly hosted corporate events. 200 guests. An elaborate ceremony. A reception designed to double as networking for Natalie and Jordan's careers. I arrived alone, wearing a navy dress I'd bought specifically to be unremarkable. My invitation had seated me at table 14, tucked in the corner with distant relatives and Jordan's work acquaintances who hadn't made the important tables. The ceremony was beautiful. Natalie glowed in her designer gown. Jordan looked genuinely happy. My parents sat in the front row, beaming with pride at their successful daughter marrying well and positioning herself for career advancement. The reception began with the usual choreography. Grand entrance. First dance. Dinner service. I made polite conversation at table 14 with people I'd never met and would never see again. Then came the toast. Best man first, telling sanitized stories about Jordan's college days. Maid of honor next. Natalie's college roommate performing emotion while emphasizing their shared success and ambition. My father stood next, his speech carefully prepared. He talked about Natalie's drive, her excellent decisions, her ability to build the perfect life. "Natalie has always known what she wanted," he said. "She chose her path carefully, made smart choices, and today we celebrate her success." He didn't mention me. Neither did my mother in her shorter remarks. Jordan's boss, CEO Richard Chin, approached the microphone next. He was 62, distinguished, with silver hair and the commanding presence of someone who'd built a tech empire from nothing. "I'm honored to be here celebrating Jordan and Natalie," he began. "Both are valuable members of the Chin tech family. Natalie, in particular, has been lobbying for a promotion to senior account director." He paused, smiling. "We'll discuss that next week." Natalie's face lit up. This was what she'd been working toward. Public acknowledgement from the CEO at her wedding, witnessed by colleagues and family. "But tonight," Richard continued, "I also want to acknowledge another special guest. Someone whose guidance has been invaluable to Chin Tech's recent success." He scanned the room, his eyes searching. When they found me at table 14 in the corner, his face transformed with genuine warmth. "There she is. Dr. Maya Sutton, would you please join me?" The room went silent. Revelation. Every head turned toward table 14. My family looked confused. Natalie's smile had frozen on her face. Jordan looked between his boss and me, utterly baffled. I stood slowly, feeling 200 pairs of eyes tracking me as I walked from the forgotten corner table toward the front. My heart pounded, but my steps were steady. Richard Chin met me halfway, extending his hand with obvious respect. "Dr. Sutton, thank you for being here tonight." He turned to address the room, still holding my hand. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know about the remarkable person who's been quietly transforming our company. Dr. Maya Sutton joined Chin Tech's board of directors 8 months ago, and her impact has been extraordinary." My mother's champagne glass slipped from her fingers. My father had gone completely pale. Natalie looked like she might be sick. "Dr. Sutton is one of the foremost experts in AI ethics and technology governance," Richard continued. "When we needed someone to navigate the complex regulatory landscape and establish ethical frameworks for our AI development, she was our first choice. At 32, she serves on 4 Fortune 500 boards, including ours." He smiled at me warmly. "Her work on our responsible AI initiative has positioned Chin Tech as an industry leader in ethical technology. The frameworks she developed are being adopted across the sector." Natalie's face had drained of all color. Jordan was staring at me like I'd materialized from another dimension. "I was planning to announce our new board composition next month," Richard said. "But since we're celebrating tonight and since Dr. Sutton is family to our employees Jordan and Natalie, I wanted to acknowledge her contribution publicly." He raised his glass. "To Dr. Maya Sutton, whose expertise and integrity are helping us build technology that serves humanity responsibly." The room erupted in applause. People at the important tables stood. My table of forgotten guests clapped loudest, sensing the reversal they'd just witnessed. Richard leaned close as the applause continued. "Jordan mentioned you were his wife's sister, but he had no idea about your board position. I thought it was time people knew." "Thank you, Richard." He squeezed my hand once more before returning to his seat at the head table, where Natalie and Jordan sat in frozen shock. I walked back toward table 14, but several people intercepted me. Other Chin Tech executives. A venture capitalist I'd worked with previously. Jordan's parents, suddenly very interested in talking to me. I didn't look at my family's table. Didn't need to. I could feel their stares like physical weight. The DJ tried to resume the planned schedule, but the energy had shifted. People whispered, pointing at me, reassessing everything they'd observed earlier. My phone buzzed. "Natalie, why didn't you tell me?" My mother, "Maya, we need to talk immediately." My father, "You're on Chin Tech's board?" I silenced the notifications. Jordan's parents approached me, their expressions transformed from dismissive to calculating. "Dr. Sutton," his mother said, testing out my title. "We had no idea you were on the Chin Tech board. Natalie mentioned you did some consulting work." "The board position was confidential until the public announcement," I said neutrally. "Richard speaks very highly of your work," Jordan's father added, already repositioning. "Perhaps we could discuss some opportunities. Our family has investments that might benefit from your expertise." "I'm sure they would," I said without commitment. Resolution. Natalie appeared moments later, Jordan trailing behind her. Her perfect wedding makeup couldn't hide the devastation in her eyes. "Why, her voice cracked. "You're on the board? You're on Richard's board?" At my company. For 8 months. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice rose, drawing attention. I've been working there for 3 years trying to get promoted and you're on the actual board? You never asked what I did, Natalie. You decided I was unsuccessful and didn't matter. Jordan found his voice. Dr. Sutton, Maya. I had no idea. Richard mentions you in executive meetings all the time. Dr. Sutton recommends, dear. Sutton's framework suggests. I never connected that you were his wife's unmarried sister who does consulting or something? I supplied. He had the grace to look ashamed. My parents pushed through the crowd gathering around us. Maya's sweetheart, my mother began, her voice desperate. We didn't understand. You never explained your work clearly. I tried. You decided it wasn't important because it didn't look like success you could recognize. The board of directors, my father said, still processing. That's significant. That's worth a +1 at the wedding? I asked quietly. Worth mentioning in toasts? Worth treating like I mattered? Natalie's tears were flowing freely now, ruining her makeup. I'm so sorry. If I'd known you were on the board, I never would have cut your +1. You could have brought anyone. You should have been valued as your sister regardless of my title? I finished. That's the problem. You treated me like a failure because I didn't perform success in ways you recognized. My respect wasn't worth a +1 until you learned I had power over your career. Richard Chin appeared at my elbow. Dr. Sutton, some board colleagues just arrived for the reception. They'd like to say hello. It was a rescue politely offered. I took it. Enjoy your evening, I told Natalie. Congratulations on your marriage. I spent the next hour talking to tech executives and investors, conducting the kind of high-level networking that Natalie had designed her wedding to facilitate, except I was the center of attention, not her. When I finally left, I passed the table where my single invitation had seated me, tucked away with the people who didn't matter. My phone was full of messages now. Apologies from Natalie. Desperate explanations from my parents. A curious text from Jordan asking if we could discuss my work sometime. And one message from Richard Chin. Thank you for your grace tonight. Regarding Natalie's promotion, I think we need to discuss whether someone who treats family that way has the judgment we need in senior leadership. Let's talk Monday. I didn't respond to any of them. Just drove home, changed into comfortable clothes and poured a glass of wine. Natalie's perfect wedding would be remembered as the night the forgotten sister was revealed to be a Fortune 500 board director. The night the CEO publicly acknowledged someone seated at table 14 while the bride watched her promotion prospects evaporate. The night everyone learned that the family failure actually held power over the family success. I raised my glass to the quiet apartment. To being underestimated. To strategic silence. To the look on my sister's face when her boss bowed to me. Some successes don't need +1s. They announce themselves when the timing is perfect.